Hey, what's going on, everybody? Brendan Hayden here with your Daily 18 at Coast Performance. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Belisa, and we are going to talk about breathing. She's a breathing expert. I've been breathing for 37 years. However, I am no expert, so she's going to tell us a little bit about breathing in your golf game, why it's important, how we do it, and some recommendations, cool exercises to work on. Really excited. Lisa, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And let's start off with, let's talk about common misconceptions with breathing in golf, because obviously golf is one of those sports where we have, managing stress and managing your emotions and things like that is such a priority, something everybody talks about. What are some strategies or some misconceptions about breathing in golf?
Well, with golf, and I've looked at every single sport, golf is actually a sport that doesn't have breathing in it. It has not been put into golf. So I always say there's no crying in baseball, there's no breathing in golf, because you learn golf without any knowledge or without any education about when you should be breathing. You're thinking it should happen naturally. And in general, it's not integrated into the game in the way that it could be. And it could be really important and make a difference for your game if you had it in the right place at the right time.
Okay, so let's take your average 10 handicap golfer. What kind of mistakes do you think they're making from a breathing standpoint on the golf?
Okay, so first of all is that they're not coordinating the movement with the breath. So that's the first thing that you see, is that the breath is kind of tagged on. So if you ask them, hey, how are you breathing when you do this, that, or the other thing, they'll usually say, I don't know, or they'll say something that they're actually not doing. So the real pairing of the breath is not happening. And the reason that happens is that you're not learning the breath along with the movement right from the beginning. If you're thinking about breathing in golf, it's been after a few years where you've already been doing the mechanics so often without the breath that all of a sudden adding the breath to it feels really like another mechanic, and you're just not going to be doing it right.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's something I think, the old joke as it goes in golf, do you breathe in or out in your backswing? It's sort of a way to get in your competitor's head, but obviously it's something that you do want to be thinking about, you do want to be conscious of. So let's walk me through. Let's say, I'll get a club over here. So why don't we say, if we were going to look at how I should be, or start addressing how I'm breathing in my golf swing, how would we start out?
Okay, so we'd start out first by looking at how you breathe. So even before you start holding this, it's going to see, where do you breathe from? Just get rid of that. Where do you breathe from? And let's get you breathing the right way, the right mechanics with the right muscles.
Okay.
So most people breathe, and you know this, vertically. So take a deep breath in, bad breath. Okay, so what you're looking at is auxiliary muscles. Neck and shoulders, they did on purpose. Upper body breath, upper chest breath. And the problem with this breath is that it puts you off center. So your natural center of gravity is all the way down here. So if you're breathing vertically, think about this. You are moving a tiny bit every single time you breathe, which means that everything that you practice is going to be off by a millimeter or half a millimeter, which makes a big difference with every single breath that you take if you don't do it exactly the same. The way you should be breathing is a horizontal breath, which is diaphragmatic. So take a big breath, and then exhale and squeeze. And if you turn sideways, it's probably easier to see that. Big inhale, belly. So now do it right. Pop your belly, but goes back. There we go. So that's a diaphragmatic breath, which is horizontal. And if you breathe this way, then you don't have these unmitigated movements, these inconsistencies at the top of your body where you really don't want them. So this is a much better breath, better center of gravity, and again, you can replicate it so that you don't have those inconsistencies that you would get with a vertical breath.
Got it. So every breath you take, every move you make, we'll be watching. So let's get into the golf swing. All right, what's up next?
Okay, great. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to see where you breathe naturally. So I'm not going to tell you you need to be at 70%, you need to be at 65%. All that is mechanics. You don't want to add more mechanics to the mess of mechanics that you already have in your brain.
Okay.
You want to let the breath actually distract you from all that and keep you centric. So whatever you're doing for the next while is looking to see, where exactly does my breath start? Where is it when I swing? What part of my breath is it at a horizontal breath? And then you're going to do that over and over so that it's exactly the same all the time. Right now, if I ask a golfer usually, how do you breathe? They say, I don't know. And having something that you don't know that's going on when you're golfing is a bad idea. So I want you to swing, I'll get out of the way, and
Yeah.
I want you to think about where is your inhale, where does it stop, where is your exhale, any of the details you can give me of that sort.
So I would say I kind of exhale halfway when I start, so it's sort of like a settle in and then go. It's kind of an initial key.
So halfway, you'd say exactly 50% you exhale right now?
37%.
37%, perfect. And your belly, you're feeling your belly squeeze into your body, right? So because you're a horizontal breather, inhale, and then exhale to 37%. Okay, go ahead. Now what?
Okay, now I'm just going to make a little shift, start moving my body. I feel like there, from about here, I'm probably not taking any breath.
Okay.
So it's probably out, and then right about here is where I usually start thinking like pow, pow, send it down.
And where's your exhale? So if you were allowed to be loud with your exhale, if you were allowed to grunt, where would that grunt be?
Probably
Nice.
somewhere through the downswing.
So actually, you just did something I really like, which is that you exhaled audibly.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to do that, is that see where your exhale would be. If I have someone who's really stuck with their breath, I actually make them be really loud as they're exhaling and as they're inhaling, so they can actually start being able to track exactly where their breath is. And part of the problem in golf is that it's a quiet sport for the most part, so that it's actually the culture of the sport doesn't allow for too much grunting, groaning, inhaling, and exhaling. So being able to do this and make noise so that you can hear yourself is good, because then you can make it exactly the same each time. So let's go over that one more time.
Okay.
So show me where your inhale is complete.
So my
So
inhale,
slowly, yep.
probably right there, and then just kind of out progressively through there.
Okay. So you are exhaling and then exhaling.
Yeah.
You're exhaling on your swing.
Yeah, there's probably a little hold in the middle somewhere.
Okay. Okay. Where is that hold? So this is exactly how you're going to start dissecting your breath and the swing.
It's probably like right at the transition.
Okay? Try it again. Is it at the transition? Make sure you're right.
Yeah.
Okay? And I want you to do the grunt when you exhale.
Got
Let's
it.
hear it. Was it good?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
excellent.
That was
yeah,
excellent? Okay.
Period.
So,
Usually I like use a 4-letter word as I'm exhaling, but that was-
bro? No, that's
No,
great.
it's not bro.
It's
Yeah.
slow.
No, it's one of those other ones. Yeah.
Okay, so what I would tell you to practice on right now is to start breaking that down so you know exactly what you're doing and exactly what part of the breath that is. After you've gotten to have that horizontal breath be perfect, you should take your breathing IQ, make sure you're at an A, and that really changes the game so that everything is the lower part of your body. And you're actually going to find as you breathe more diaphragmatically that you're going to be able to have more thoracic flexibility as well. So that's going to change a tiny bit. In the beginning, it'll seem like there's all these different changes and you have to have everything settled down, but it's about being able to replicate it so it's exactly the same each time you do it.
Cool. Awesome. And that makes a lot of sense. Kind of goes along with what we normally talk about with all our fitness, is you need to build a good foundation outside of the specifics of your sport, just like breathing, as we're talking about here. Build good foundational breathing, then integrate it into golf rather than vice versa. Same thing we talked about with fitness. That makes a lot of sense. The other area that'd be great to talk about, I'm sure a lot of people have questions about, is the short game and specifically putting. What do we do in the short game? Because obviously that is an area where we are very conscious of all sorts of things. All sorts of thoughts come into play, all sorts of breathing patterns. Obviously the least athletic and dynamic movement in the game. How do we breathe when we're putting?
Oh, but it's so fascinating. So it's the least dynamic, but it's actually the most interesting about what's going on inside your body and how that connects to your mind. So for me, it gets me excited. So what you're going to try to do is that you're going to try to extend, and this is where actually shooting and golf come together a little bit, is that you're going to try to find what's called your natural respiratory pause. Now, if your exhale is slow, that pause, that moment where things are most still, that's going to be where you want to shoot, that's going to be where you're going to putt. So finding it and being able to find it consistently is what your goal is. So think about this. When you are inhaling and exhaling vertically, it's a much shorter exhale. So before, when you were doing that, first of all, top of the body is moving. Even if it's, obviously that's exaggerated, but even if it's a tiny bit, it's going to make for movements out there that you don't want. So when you're breathing horizontally, big inhale and exhale, so breathe right now, no shoulders, belly is moving, is that now your center of gravity is lower to the ground, and the breath is going to actually clear your mind. So it's not a mechanic that you have to do on top of everything else. It's actually the secret to being able to put all the mechanics aside and just focus on your breathing so you can do what you know how to do and what you've practiced so much. So right now what you're going to do is you're going to exhale as long as you can. Don't hit the ball right now. You're going to exhale as long as you can and notice that moment where you feel like you are the most quiet. So big inhale, belly breath, exhale slowly, and see if you can notice, right here, that's where I felt like things were the calmest for me. And usually what that's going to be is that it's where your heart rate is the slowest, and that's when you're going to hit. And again, when you're not on the green, when you're actually just practicing this at the gym or to the side, is that you're going to look at your heart rate and see if your exhale, your extended exhale, really does match when your heart rate is the lowest.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much, Dr. Belisa, for being here today. Check out those tips. Check out all of her stuff. Check out her book. And hope everyone's doing well out there. We'll see you soon.